Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is the world premiere.
Great morning, great morning, great morning, precious people. You know who it is. Welcome to the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith. That's right. Right here on Praise 93.3. And it's already an amazing day. This is the place indeed where Tuscaloosa meets the world right here on the Culture Call. And of course, for the next 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., I'm going to be talking to you to a little bit about everything from society to sports, education to economics, and of course, from religion to relationships. And we are here to create a safe space. That's right. A safe space to have empowering and provocative conversations. You know, nobody doesn't like the Culture Call. And guess what? You can call in and you can be a part of our show. That's right. And we can learn together right here on the Culture Call. Of course, as I do every morning, I want to remind you to go to your smartphone device. If you're listening or if you're trying to find a way to listen and still do your work, go ahead to your Apple or your Android device and search out Praise 93.3 FM right there. And you can download our free 99 app and you can hear us. Yeah, from all over the world. Doesn't matter where you are and what space and or place, you can hear us all over the world. So we want you to do that. Go ahead and download that on your phone. And also you can email me, your personal PR manager at culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com. You can go ahead and email me, and I will be the one to tell Lottie Dottie and everybody what's happening in your neck of the woods, in your church, your organization, your fraternity, your sorority. Doesn't matter. We want to increase the traffic and the footprints coming into the direction of what you're trying to do. So make sure that you email me at culturecall.praise@gmail.com. And of course, we want to give everybody knowledge about what you're doing. You know why? Because as a community, we do it better when we do it together. And of course, 205-752-4800. That's the golden number. That's it. 205-752-4800 is the golden number. You can call in into the show and be a part of the conversation. I definitely want to hear from you because your voice is important. You understand? Yeah. Your voice is important. So do me a favor, sit back and relax, grab you some coffee, whether it's Maxwell House or Starbucks. You know what my favorite coffee is? Yeah, caramel macchiato. You can get some herbal tea, chamomile, or green tea. Get yourself pumped up. Yeah. Or just finally get you some alkaline water and get those cells mobilizing and feed them well. And let's get into the culture. Listen. I am grateful for each and every one of you. Let me start off saying a thank you like I do every week. I was not in on yesterday, but you heard me anyhow. I've been dealing with this little head cold. This little head cold. You probably can hear some residues of it, but we're pressing through. I feel much better today. Thank you for your prayers. All of you who did know. If you didn't know, you're still praying for me. I appreciate you, and most certainly you. And we're going to make it through this day without problems or anything. I just want to say thank you to all of my listening audience. And when you don't hear me or you hear something different, you're like, you hit me up and say, are you on syndication? Or, are you on, replay or whatever? Yes, I am. You ain't got to tell everybody my business. But nonetheless, yes, thank you all for hitting me up, praying for me. I really, really appreciate you. I want you to tell everybody, hey, Bishop L is on, and I need you to go ahead and tune into the Culture Call, especially this week. It's going to be a doozy. Yes, it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful conversation. So let's go to work. This week's topic is, Black Fatherhood. In honor of Father's Day coming up on Sunday, Black Fatherhood, men, mandates, and myths. We're going to deal with all of that. Men, mandates, and myths. We're going to talk about Black Fatherhood. and what the central significance of that, why it is necessary, why we have to be very careful how we believe the media and the tropes of black father absenteeism. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about men as well this week in terms of, we talk a lot about women. Absolutely we do. But the truth of the matter is we need to talk about men. There is, I believe, a societal attack on men, black men in particular, and I think we need to have a conversation about it. Don't you? Yeah. Especially as we come up to Father's Day every year, especially in my church, everybody around me knows that I am a champion for Father's Day. Let me say that again, that I am a champion for Father's Day. Around right after Easter, right after Jesus gets up the grave and we celebrate him and all that, all of that good old stuff about Mother's Day coming up in May. We hear about that, just a bunch of stuff. Mother's Day this, Mother's Day sales, and Mother's Day this. And Mother's Day's, free chicken tenders at Golden Corral, coupons for mama, all that kind of stuff. And listen, as a mama's boy, I get it. I love my mother, but I'm a daddy's boy too. So then there's that. But there is a lack of celebration, prime celebration for men, and fathers in particular in this country. And, as it relates to celebration, and they were ranking, here's the deal. They were ranking, what holidays, what holidays are really, important. Of course, Christmas, Easter, and then the next one was Mother's Day. Then it was 4th of July. And I think somewhere around, out of all of the ridiculous holidays that we come up with in this country, I think Father's Day was maybe in the teens, early 20s, late teens, early 20s in terms of importance. And so, yeah, even in this country, we don't celebrate fathers like we need to. And I think that is a travesty. I think that is also a very targeted scheme, and we're going to talk about that as well. Because, if you don't celebrate men, what you don't do is celebrate the foundational context of family. You don't celebrate that. And I know the house is called Big Mama's house. I know that, we lean a lot on women and their maternity and all of those things that they do so very well. But the truth of the matter is, it takes a man. It takes a man. It really does. And this week, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm hoping that you will engage and join me, because there's some things that I want to dispel, some lies, some myths that have been created with a specific intent to disconnect our human identity, human worth, human views and values away from men, black men in particular. That there has been an all-out effort to disconnect the value of black men and men all over this country, and, to put it in a context as if men are not needed. That's how it is framed. And so we're going to do some statistical things this week, because, I'm not going to just come and tell you stuff and don't have my stuff. Anybody who knows me knows that if I tell you, this is XYZ is going on, you can bet your bottom dollar I've got some research to back it up. Okay. So yeah, I'm not just out here shooting blanks because I am a man, but I am definitely one who is a proponent for men. And I think we all need to be. And if we don't, without men, what would society be? With all of our flaws and all of our failures and all of our mistakes and all of the things that, we are the only ones that are not allowed to be a work in progress. Let me say that again, because I like that one. We are the only ones that are not allowed to be a work in progress. That men have to come with it all together, unless we're graded on a curve that is just so, that as if, well, if you just get out the way, then get out the way. And then when you push men out of the way, then you complain that they're absent. And then when they're there, you claim that, well, XYZ, well, then they need to get out of the way. Well, okay, so we're going to have to deal with some of these things and kind of, go through them with a fine-tooth comb. Some of the things that we talk about with regards to men and their presence and or their absence, again, not only have been contrived, but they're also targeted to make us think about society in a particular way that may not be what has been divinely decided by God. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about men who are not taking their places and men that are. Because that's we have to create a conversation about that particular dichotomy. We have to talk about that, brothers who are not taking their place, their rightful place in society, in the home, in family, in relationships. So we're going to have to talk about that. And then we're going to have to talk about bestowing honor upon fathers, bestowing honor upon men in general, but definitely as we get to the end of the week, we're going to talk about that, because I think that whenever you honor is what you esteem, and whatever you esteem is what grows. It's what begins to expand, right? It's the thing that we begin to see more clearly, right? When we set a definition of honor and respect, right? And so, we're going to talk about that this entire week. Black fatherhood, men, mandates, and myths. That's what we're going to talk about this morning. But come on in the room. Let's talk about our centering moment. And I want to talk about men still have a place. Men still have a place. One of the things that I think is very important as we talk about society from a historical, even in a present context, is that a lot of times what we believe and what we think in terms of our perspectives and our perceptions, I've said this in church about theology. Much of what we believe is inherited but not investigated. In other words, if you get a certain amount of people to say a certain thing so many times, it will be believed. It will be believed in a place where, it must be true because this thing said it, because CNN said it, or because ABC said it, or MSNBC, or Fox News, or whatever have you, right? That media has a tremendous voice in creating the information of people, right? And not only the media, watch this one, even our experiences and what we go through, we add a certain level of ubiquity to it. We add this because it happened to me, it must have happened to everybody, or this is the world standard of how it should happen. And at all points, at some points, a lot of points, we are wrong in that context. Because just because it happened to you, it could have happened to you wrong. You could be the outlier. Your experience is unique to you. Your feelings and your perceptions and your perspectives are unique to you. And that is not to say that it is not real to you, but that is also to say simply because it is real to you does not mean that it is real to everyone. And when we begin to talk about men, fathers, black men in particular, there is a certain trope, there's a certain perspective and perception created by a myriad of experiences that have become the mainstay idea of what black men in particular are, right? That the absenteeism, that they are deadbeat dads, they are absentee fathers, they don't work, they're angry, they disappear, they're not committed, they're not trustworthy, they're not integritous, they're not truthful. All of those adjectives, that we add to the definitions of what men are. And quite frankly, once you continue to repeat that, once you begin to see that, once that is what the big megaphone of media begins to tell us, we'll begin to think that is the ultimate truthism. We'll think that just because they said it and said it so many times, that it is in fact true. And what we're finding and what we have found out is that it is absolutely incorrect. That did you know that out of all ethnicities, that the black men are the most present fathers in every ethnic? In every ethnic, black men are the most present fathers of every ethnic. That they are there. They're taking the kids to school. They're there picking them up. They're there in emotional stability. They're there in modeling and formation. They're there in cooking. They're there on vacation. Out of all the races, black men are the most there for their families. And let me show you what they did, though. What they did was take this question that a lot of black men are not married. And because they say a lot of black men are not married, they automatically assume that black men were absentee fathers. Let me say it again. Because of the high rate and propensity of African American pregnancies out of wedlock, they use that statistic and say that relates to, or that is the absentee of men. But there's a difference between being an absentee father and not being a married man, not being married. Right. And so that's one of the things that the research has found in recent years, is that when people were serving up these statistics and saying, well, black men are absentee fathers, black men don't take care of their children, black men are not showing up, blah, 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 and blah, blah. They took and crossed, I want to say cross-reference, but they switched the statistics. Yeah, there are a lot of black men that are not married. They are not married. And so when you talk about, up into the 60 percentile, 50 percentile of black men that are not married but have children, they said black men were not good fathers or they were absentee fathers. And those are two different statistics. They were trying to amalgamate and try to really conflate two statistical values when that's not true. That even as single men, unmarried men, black men are still active in the lives of their children. What we have found out, however, is that the media finds and portrays and purports and puts on television and puts on social media, those men or those situations and circumstances where those men are not present, right? That black men are highly capable and, they're responsible even when the child is not theirs. Yeah. That when women have children out of wedlock by another man and that man is not there and she gets involved with another man, that black man does not throw that child away. That black man takes that child on as if it is his, to a high propensity. A high propensity. See, we're so busy believing the hype and we're so busy snapping necks and snapping fingers that we're not investigating exactly where is this coming from, right? This whole idea of black fathers being absent, it's a myth. It's a myth that they say that they're not active and involved in their children's lives and they're absent from their families, right? But that's not the truth. And so we have to begin to ask ourselves, what is that about? Well, see, in this country in particular, there has been a long, I don't want to say scheme, but for the lack of a better word, scheme. There's been a long narrative that's have been created about the strength, the agency, and the brilliance of black men and disenfranchisement of that whole identity and character. So it starts with them being enslaved. It starts with them being dumb. It starts with black men being unintelligent. It starts with black men being only used for strength or buckification. It starts with black men being only good in sports and not being good at anything else, and only good in rap. And so they show a particular kind of idea. You can see it all over time as media begins to show images of black men, right? They show them looking a certain way with the big lips and looking almost ape or monkey-ish like, when in fact we don't, right? Because if that's the case, monkeys don't even have thin lips. Yeah, they don't. On big lips, right? Monkeys have thin lips. Then there's that. Nonetheless, it's been this historically created trope and media-infused a narrative of disinformation and misinformation concerning black men. And of course, we bought into it. Of course, we're saying, that's what they do. And so that it has been created so that society as a whole would not respect, honor, and appreciate black men on any level. On any level. right? That they will show a Fortune 500 black man, but then, every now and then, but you will see this whole idea of black men and other, with gold teeth and all this. And please understand, I'm not casting aspersions to anybody. I'm not doing that on anyone. This is not, we're not even going down that path today. Yeah, that's not something you want to do today. That's what we're not going to do today. But what I'm saying is, I'm talking about images as if that's the only image of black men, rappers, athletes, basketball players, football players, entertainers. That's the most of what they will, and media, that's who they show the most when it comes to black men, right? And but they'll show leadership, they'll show entrepreneurship, they'll show businessmen, they'll show politicians, they'll show all of that of other races. Yeah, you won't see their entertainers like that. You don't see their artists and their musicians like that. You very rarely see that. They don't. Because the idea that they are trying to create is that all black men are useful for is our sports and our entertainment and their high sex drive. Yeah, and their high sex drive and our uncontrollable libido. So hide your women, hide your kids, hide your valuables, because these men are going to come in and they're going to come in and take your stuff. Right? And that's what they wanted to show. That's what they want to be seen. And we buy into it. I don't want to leave that out. And we buy into it because they will show the single black mother. They will show her and they will talk about where's your husband. They know how to frame the questions. They know how to frame to make black men look like they are not viable in society. But they've been doing that since black men reached this country, right? Even in criminalization, you have a black man do the same crime that a white man creates, but they're gonna look all in the black man's past and their history and his family and all that, and find and report every kind of dysfunction. And here it is, and I'm just talking about that's somebody who got shot, in the back, not out of nothing that they did wrong. They just showed up being black. But they're going to go comb through all of his history. And then you have a white man who has been eating up folks, cannibalizing, a serial killer. And now you're going to tell me how gentle he was and how smart he was and how that's so unbelievable about him that he could do such a thing. And so here I am as a black man, and we are buying into it. See, I don't want to miss that. And we're buying into it. Right? And we have to begin to retract and back up and say, wait a minute, hold on. Wait, where was my father? Where's my brothers? Where am I? Yeah. Black men don't have any different struggles than any other race. So then why do they only show our struggles? To make us believe that black men do not have a space or a place in civilized society. They're no good but to be incarcerated. They're no good but to be on the lower rung of society. They're no good. They are violent. They are angry. No good than to be animals who need to be caged. They don't take care of their families, and they're making all of these illegitimate children, which, of course, that is not even so, because there's really nothing that is created by an illegitimate child. There's no such thing as an illegitimate child. None. That is a political term. Illegitimate child, right? So if the child is illegitimate, but yeah, I'm not even going down that path. Yeah, there are no illegitimate children. Every child has a father and a mother. Every last one. Yeah. And so once we start believing that, we'll start disrespecting them, how we talk about them. The social media sphere is so replete with how black men ain't doing this and we ain't doing that, and how we are connivers and how we don't commit to relationships. That is false. It's a narrative that they want you to believe. You know why? Because they know our information is inherited but not investigated. Oh, say amen, somebody. Yeah, that's facts. They don't want us to esteem and value our men again. You know why? Because there might just be another civil rights movement. There might just be a rise of prime black leadership. There might just be a high and tremendous rise in black Wall Streets and Rosewoods and the economic centers being grown again. There might be thinkers. Most of the inventions in this country that we enjoy from history to modern times were created by black men. Black women as well, but most of them were created by black men. Absolutely. And so there is a targeted media narrative that wants us to feel like men, black men in particular, in specificity, does not have a place. They don't want us to care about them going to jail. They don't want us to care about them being homeless and on the street. They don't want us to care. They don't want them in the home. I want to see, I want to continue this whole slavery understanding and slavery disenfranchisement. So I'm going to create systems where that black man cannot be in the home if that family is going to be provided for by the government. Yeah, we have to talk about that because it's causing us to lose respect for black men, to believe things that are not true, and to disrespect them into disappearance. That's what they want, for us to disrespect black men into disappearance. But as a black man, let me say to you, yeah, as a husband, as a father, as a leader, as a pastor, we aren't going anywhere. We are very much present. We are very much leading. Yes. And we are very much intelligent and creating systems for the future. We just don't have the headlines yet. But there is a strong community of black men that are making themselves known in their homes. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because there is a fraying in relationship between black women and black men. And I don't think it's all black men's fault. Let me say, I said that a few weeks ago when we talked about the dating pool. I want to pick it up again. I don't think that is all black men's fault. I think we need to tell ourselves the truth. I think we need to tell ourselves the truth about certain things that happen in our community that once we take ownership of, then and only then will we see the need and the necessity for black men, not only in our society, but in our homes and our communities. But we have to tell the truth about some things. Yeah, that we are very present, we are very here, and we are very here to stay. And I think that's something very important we need to talk about. Yeah. And so listen, as we even come up to celebrating Father's Day, I want us to reconsider. Some things. See, because when you allow, I'm going to get in trouble and I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to let it linger. When we stop allowing some hurt black women to stop defining, when we allow them to stop defining what black men should be and what they are and go to listening to black men, then we're going to find out that some of the things that were spoken to us were not out of truth. It was out of pain. And it's out of pain and bitterness because truth has not been able to make them free. Yeah. Listen, that is my centering moment. Men still have a place, black men in particular. We're going to have a great discussion today right here on The Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3. We got so much to talk about today, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3 FM. And it is a terrific Tuesday morning. A little overcast, a little rainy. Yeah, y'all be careful out there on those roads as you are traveling. Yeah, it's a little messy. It's probably going to be a messy for a couple of days according to the weather forecast. And so want to make sure that you stay on top of that as you are traveling. Yeah. Listen, we're having an amazing conversation, a beginning conversation about black men. Yeah. Dispelling some myths, talking about some mandates and really getting us to understand that perhaps most of what we have believed and what we have seen has been created by the media and people who have a subversive agenda against black men. And we've got to begin to ask the questions why, right? And again, one of the things that is so very important as a black people, and I want you to hear this, that most of what we believe is inherited, not investigated. Let me say it again. Most of what we believe is not investigated. Somebody gave it to us. Somebody's told us the perspective. It's information based, but that information has not been scrutinized. It has not been proven to be true or false. You know why? Because it has not been investigated. We have not done a forensic study on what has been being said about us, about the information we receive in particular. I find this in church with our theology. I find this in business with, in terms of our money. And I find this in our relationships. I find it all everywhere I go that we will be, those who are most likely to believe, those who are connected to us, close to us. If we see it a plethora of times, right? We'll believe that, but we won't really go and say, is this true for real? Right? We love the excitement. We love the, a lot of times the feeling and the conjecture that comes around something that is being said, but we don't ever go and find out, if it's true. And the sad part about that is that we'll, in this culture, we'll cancel people. We'll stop talking to people. We'll start looking at people a different way based upon a rumor and not upon the revelation of truth. And quite frankly, my people, we got to do better. We have got to do better, right? When you see all those, shows and all those particular memes on social media, those who love to, purport information first and they want to, for shock value and you not understanding that half of the stuff they're not even sure about because they don't even have access to the information. And most of the people that report, they don't have accurate access to accurate information, but they get just a little bit and they know how to frame a headline or ask you a question, what you think about, right? As if in that area, you are a specialist or someone who really understands and have done research and study on the term. And it sets up a whole culture of disinformation and misinformation. And this week, that's kind of what I'm tackling because what we cannot continue to do is allow the media to shape the conversation, shape the perspective, shape the perception on how we view black men. We cannot allow them to do that. And I'm talking about even our own BET, TV One, all of those. We got to be very investigative of how we really receive those images. That's important. Have you ever sat back and wondered why that's how they show black men? Have you ever wondered why that in the roles and all those things? I'm not saying that those are not realities and so forth, but that's just real. But that ain't real for everybody. What's happening in New York is not the same thing that's happening in Bowler G, Alabama. It's just not. But if you're not careful, they'll make you think that it's the same. They'll make you think that all men are the same, and they are not, right? And so let's just talk about a few of these myths. Now I want to talk about that because I think it's important, that we begin to delineate these myths and not only delineate them, but dispel them. If we're going to have a conversation of truth and not just of feelings, not just of feelings, we need to begin to discuss some of these things that they have put out there. Like, number one, black men are the most violent men. What? that this lie suggests that black men are inherently more violent than men of other races. However, research shows that black men are not more violent than men of other races, and that this stereotype is perpetuated by media portrayals and systemic racism, right? That when the slaves would run away and black enslaved men would revolt, right? That the slave masters were so afraid that those black men were going to come back and create a revolution, a rebellion against them. They started creating this entire narrative that black men are violent. They're like animals, like ravaging beasts. That's how they started, and they continue to do it even to this day. Yeah, they continue to do it even until this day. That no, black men are no more violent than any other race of people. Period. Any other race of men. Hispanic, Caucasian, Asian are not. No, that is a media portrayal. Yeah. And it is rooted in systemic racism. Period. Full stop. Absolutely. That's why you will see on television when black males do things, you know, and they go to a game and they have fun and they get riled up, which we don't normally do that, you know, and the cars turn over or something happens in a community. Oh, those black people tearing up their community, black people doing such and so forth. But you let, you know, other races win a game, a soccer game, a football game. They'll get in the middle of the street, turn over cars, bash out windows. Oh, they're having good fun. The energy is exciting over there, right? See, it's how the media paints it. It's how the media begins to paint it. There is, let me say it again, there is a whole idea of being able to create that energy around black men. That is, quite frankly, not true. Not true. Here's the second one. Not only the myth that black men are more violent, it's like black men are lazy. That's number 2. Black men are lazy. This lie suggests that black men are lazy and do not want to work. However, research shows that black men work just as hard as men of other races. And again, it's perpetualized. And this is a stereotype perpetuated by systemic racism again and discrimination in the workplace. Black men are not lazy at all. Right? Right? That is a caricature that is perpetuated again rooted in systemic racism, but also discrimination in the workplace. They don't want to give black men those jobs. They will set up everything not to give black men prime jobs, not to put them in positions of authority and supervision and power, and power, and then create a narrative that they're lazy. That all we want to do is sit up and drink Kool-Aid, and then they'll show movies, and then they'll show all of those things. But you know, he's so that you can walk away. I can walk away. Oh, he's just a lazy black man. Black men are just so lazy. They want you to take care of them. Really? That is what they want you to believe. Right? Very few men, black men, are lazy. They know they got to get up and work. If nobody else has been raised with an ethic to work, black men have been raised with ethics to work. Absolutely. That's facts. So stop that, because that's not true. Black men are not lazy at all. At all. Black men go to work, they come home, take care of their families, you know, they go to sleep, they go back to work, you know, all of that. That they want to create that narrative, and that narrative is absolutely not true. So the first myth that we have to dispel this week is that black men are more violent, because they are not. And then 2, black men are lazy, because they are not. And here's the number 3 one. Black men are not good fathers. Well, now, listen, before I read my research, I'm going to tell you that's a lie. Because I think I'm a great father. And I know great fathers. The men that I hang around are great fathers. I have a church full of men who are great fathers and all the men that I know are amazing fathers. Amazing. Yeah, that's a lie from the very pits of Hades. That is not the truth. That is a lie. The lie suggests that black men are not good fathers and do not care about their children. However, research shows that black fathers are just as involved in their children's lives as any other race. See, it's no different. And in fact, they are more. And that is, again, racism and negative media portrayals. You see? That you very rarely, they love to show on shows, single black women raising their families. They love to show that. Very rarely do they champion black men raising their families, right? Being present, right? You very rarely see that. Now, even today, that was one of the things that Bill Cosby, as Cliff Huxtable, that he was trying to dispel, the absenteeism of black fathers, that they were trying to create that narrative, a media narrative on television, right? That even with James Evans on Good Times, y'all remember that? James Evans on Good Times. He was too strong of a father. He was a strong father in the home. Yeah. And the directors and the writers, at that time, and he tells the story, John Amos tells the story, who played James Evans. He tells the story that the producers and directors were like, no, you're too strong of a figure. They were trying to create a narrative, even back in the 70s, of black men. And so what did they do? They killed James off the show. And Carl, who Florida married later, didn't even stay on the show that long. Yeah, they tried to kill him off the show with cancer. And then they moved to Arizona. They moved that black male presence, fatherhood presence, out of the way. See, if you look at it, right? Then you had Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince, right? And so, they have to fight for those kinds of images to be purported to be, all of that in that whole idea. That's what they wanted. That's what they want. And guess what we do? Believe them. That's what we do. Right? And then we look at our own experiences. And, I didn't know my daddy, or my daddy didn't treat me right, or my daddy didn't left us, my blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. Right. I think if you do some scratching around, you get some questions answered. That's all I'm going to tell you right now for today. If you do some scratching around, if you do some asking some serious questions, you just might figure out. Now, hear me. What I'm not saying is, I'm not speaking in terms of ubiquity, because there are some bad, apples always in every bunch. But that's not just in black folks. That's in every folk. To let the media tell it, every white father stays. Right? You let the media tell it, every Hispanic father stays. Every Asian father stays. But these black fathers, we don't know about them. They're absentee. Yeah. Okay. Stop and think about that. Think. Like Aretha Franklin said, you better think. You got to think, y'all. Think about it. Absolutely. It's a narrative. And no one fights systemic racism like black men. Not the same way. Black men have been the victims of violent, and intentional systemic racism against their very being, their character, their nature, right? Their strength, all of that. And they feed it and they push it into the culture. And we, generation to generation, begin to believe it. Yeah. Here's another one. Number 4, black men are not intelligent. I know that's a lie. Y'all, black men, the lie suggests that black men are not as intelligent and do not value education. But research shows that black men are just as intelligent and value education, even as just as much or even more than other races. Right? Again, the root of it is systemic racism and media portrayal, negative media portrayals. That was the epic thing of A Different World. That was the epic thing of creating a system to show, even when you look at the Jeffersons, They wanted to show and create an understanding that black men, Lionel became an engineer. George was a businessman, an entrepreneur, right? It was a whole lot of pushing into society and out of this notion that black men are not intelligent. From the days that they used to portray us as not intelligent or just, mealy-mouthed janitors, no casting no aspersion against janitors. That's how they portrayed us. If you go back and look at some of the old films, that's how they portrayed us. They did that on purpose. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They did it on purpose. On purpose. That we want to make sure they don't think that these black men are intelligent. So don't hire them. They're no good but to sweep up and clean up after us. They're no good but to be out in the field and behind our mules and our cows and our oxen. They can't have no families, But when the truth of the matter is, that wasn't us. That's not our identity at all. At all. Right? That was a narrative that was created against black men. And for years, that notion has been fortified all over the culture. And we believe it as if it is the gospel truth. And it is not. It is not. Here's my last one. Black men are all the same. Now, that's a lie. That's a lie. That this suggests that all black men are the same and they have the same experiences and values. That's not true. Yeah. That black men are varied in how they experience the world. They're varied in how they represent culture. They're varied. All of us are not athletic. Some of us highly intelligent. Some are very creative. Some are very musical. Right? All of them are not rappers. Right? That's very important. That there's a myriad, There's a plethora of experiences of black men and how we show up in the world. And so to think that if you met one black man, you've met every black man, absolutely not. And I oftentimes tell the young women in our church period, that just because you had a bad experience with one black man does not mean that all black men are like that. Because you've not dated all of us. You've not been with all of us to be able to make that statement. So where does that come from? Right? Oh, y'all men. Child, please. Oh, you ain't been with all us men. Right. And when I look back on who you have chosen to be with, the issue might not be the men you chose. It might just be you. Because if all of them are bad, you know how to find out of 20 men, you know how to pick all of the bad ones, then I don't know if the issue is with those men in as much as it's with your choosing. It's with who you choose to be with. Yeah, we've got to stop the lies, stop the myths against black men. No, we are exactly who God has created us to be. We are strong forces, intelligent, creative, and we are present. Yeah, we got to stop with the lies and really tell the truth about black men. Listen, this is the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith right here on Praise 93.3, 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the app. Tell me what you think about today's show. So much more to come. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back, family. It's the top of the hour, 11 a.m. on this beautiful Tuesday. Rainy but beautiful. Yeah, if you're up, guess what? If you're alive, it's beautiful. Yeah, right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3 FM. And we are having a wonderful day. Listen, 205-752-4800, or you can definitely hit me up on the app and make some comments there. We're talking about this week, black fatherhood, men, mandates, and myths. We're going to dispel some myths this day and take some time to do that this week, even as we lead up to Father's Day on Sunday. Yes, Father's Day, Christmas, and then Father's Day. That's right, Christmas and then Father's Day in order of importance, right? Absolutely, absolutely. And so I want you to hit me up. I want to make sure that I give you voice, want to hear your concerns, want to make sure that you're following me and you're tracking with our conversation on this morning, all right? Good deal. Listen, I've got on air with me Dustin Harper. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Bishop, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. I'm doing wonderful. Dealing with this head cold, but we working through it. We working through it today.
Well, yeah, I pray you get better at that. I hate those in the summertime.
Listen, I hate it, right? Absolutely. Yeah. What you got to share with us today, bro?
Okay, so yeah, this topic is close to my heart because
absolutely.
Number one, I am a man. Number two, black man.
Yeah.
And number three, I have a desire for us to get closer as men and women.
Yeah.
Because like you say, good relationships, build good communities.
Yeah.
Build, that whole spiel. So what I've noticed, so I read a book recently,
mm-hmm.
Called Of Men and Boys.
Yeah.
It's by Richard Reeves, and he talks a lot about how men and boys are failing in today's society.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because he digs into how the educational system, girls are thriving
yes.
Much more than boys.
Mm-hmm.
But school and how school is structured is also geared toward how they learn.
Correct.
Versus how boys learn.
Correct.
So take that thought and couple it with, our situation as black men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, now you hear it all the time. Black women are the fastest growing business owners. They're getting degrees mm-hmm. more than anybody. They're
sure.
just excelling in this culture that, that has been set up for us. And then you look at the relationship between black men and black women, and it's my observation that there is this perspective from black women towards black men that feels eerily similar to how white people look at black people.
Right, right.
And there is, the stereotypes that you just listed and debunked. Mm-hmm. A lot of our black women have developed those mindsets and they've come to those conclusions about black men based off of what society has told them and their experience with black men.
Correct.
And that's really damaging to our relationships as friends, as romantic partners, as parents, as
right.
everything. And it's really sullied our community. And I think the fact that a lot of black men feel like black women don't treat us any better than white people.
Right.
I think needs to be looked at in greater detail, because I think all of us are really, as my friend would say, are really trying to stand up straight in this crooked room we call America.
You're absolutely correct.
It's a difficult task.
It's a difficult task.
I think we work against each other because we're both frustrated with, how this country has treated us.
Right. And you bring out some salient points. First being, I think we need to understand, Dustin, how the table is arranged, right? That when the table is arranged incorrectly, when you're dealing with a whole level of systemic racism, things that are historical with regards to disenfranchisement and creating a narrative. See, that what this country is good at doing is creating a narrative, true and or false, that America is the media giant of the world, because it will create a narrative and perpetuate it as if it is true, knowing that is a lie. And knowing that it is. And part of what you're saying is so very true, is that oftentimes we believe the lie and we'll fight tooth and nail, bro, trying to substantiate this lie being purported as the truth, when in fact, if we would just sit down together, and you said it, I saw it when I was in education, when I was a teacher, that the system is geared toward, women learning, how women learn. And that's first white women, then black women, first white women, then white boys, then black girls, and maybe black boys, maybe, because they will put us out of school in a minute. For the littlest thing, for how we dress, we might have come in late there, locked the doors on us where you should have been on time, not even understanding there was no compassion shown to those black boys and a school that was built in their neighborhood. So you are absolutely correct. And Dustin, I think the only way that we really can deal with this is we've got to do what you've been talking about doing for a while, having some forums to really talk about it and educate people, because we're suffering from a lack of knowledge. We are being destroyed because we don't want to find the information out.
Yeah. And I think the last thing I'll say, like, I have to give black women their props.
Oh, no doubt about it.
I also have to acknowledge how they're being used.
Yeah.
Black women are the biggest spreaders of narrative, right or wrong.
That's the truth. That is truth. That is the truth.
When they latch on to something,
let me tell you,
it spreads like wildfire. And it's believed, and it's stamped and approved, and whatever else is there. I've been hearing for the past at least 20 years, if not more, that black men ain't fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And the biggest proponents of that have been black women.
Sure.
Now, it may not have started with them.
Right.
But it definitely has been spread amongst them. Now, consider if I've heard it, imagine a young man 20 years old.
Yeah.
And that's all he heard.
Yeah.
And that's all he's been hearing.
Right.
And so how does he grow up with a sense of worth or value when his cousins have been saying it, his mother has been saying it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what we're dealing with. If you take a young man at this particular time in history that has more than half his life, over like most of his life, has heard that him, the representation of what he is, ain't worth nothing.
Yeah. And
good luck trying to get him to be worth something.
Good luck. Good luck. And then I hear all the time, where are the black men? Well, you already said he's no good. I mean, you can't have it both ways. Either he's no good or you want him. What do you want? Why do you want a no good? Right. Why do you want him if he's no good? Right, man. Yeah. Dustin, I thank you, man. I hope to hear from you more this week as we talk about this subject, man. Your insight is always valuable.
You will.
Absolutely.
I've been listening. I just haven't been able to call in.
I know it, man. Thanks so much, bro. I appreciate you.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Listen, Culture Call, that's facts. What Dustin just said was facts, is that the purveyor of the gospel, they fed this gossip, they fed it directly in media form. They fed it to black women, unfortunately. And again, what is not being said is, or what we're not saying is that your experience as a black woman, singular, is not, all of us has the propensity to pick wrong people and to be in relationships. I mean, some people just don't belong in relationship together. I mean, that's just facts. We don't have to go back and forth with that one. That's just the honest to goodness truth. And that's not necessarily saying that, however, that your truth is ubiquitous. Your truth is the only truth that has been told. No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not my wife's experience. That's not, men have to be able to grow and to grow up just like women. And I think that's another problem because you know, a lot of times they want black men to come full grown, no problem, no issue, no, have the big pockets, have the best jobs, all this XYZ, ABC, take care of them. They want all of that. Yeah. But then on the flip side, he can make no request of them. I'm going to say that again. Right. They don't want any request coming from him. You know, he can't be the one to say anything. He can't talk about anything. You know, and that's a travesty. That's not fair, number one. Right? I want him, he got to come here. He got to be stable. He got to be a faithful man. He's got to take care of children. He got to make sure he come home. You got to take care of it. And you got to get me this and you got to get me that. And I got to feel secure. And then the first time the man say, yeah, but can I get a dinner every night? Though, can you cook for me every night? Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay, see that there it is. See, you see that? Listen, and don't call me arguing about that because now if you do, I'm the one for you. Now, please know I'm the one. I'm the one for you. Absolutely. You can't have it both ways. He can put no demands. Black men can put no demands. He has to be, you want, every sector in society wants a black man to continue to be a slave. Every sector in society wants a black man to be a slave. Every last one. Right? I want you to be brilliant. I want you to have this amount of figures. I want you to have this. I want you to have that. I want you to XYZ. I want you to be able to take care of this. If you come and I got children, I want you to be able to be a surrogate father. I want you to be able to do, and the list goes on and on. And he is supposed to come into the picture. Yes, you right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Right? You know, sound like Michael Duncan Clark Duncan on Green Mile. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that's what we want. We don't want him to have any opinion. Just do what I want you to do. Right? But the moment he exerts in agency, the moment he exerts strength and intelligence, the moment he says, okay, no problem. I have no problem doing all this, but here is what I need from you. The moment he says that, the moment he says that, then you got an issue. Right? Oh, they're just so controlling. Wait a minute. Do you want him to lead or not? Right? Now, here's the truth of the matter is, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. Let me do a little Bible just right here. I'm going to do just a little Bible right here. Is that in this whole idea of God made male, female, God made a spirit of man, and he called one part male, called male, and he said, let them have dominion. In other words, there was no differences in leadership. That means that men and women are supposed to bring the same thing to the table. An area of being able to be fruitful, to multiply, to replenish, subdue, and have dominion. Right? That he is not supposed to be just what you want him to be. Are you what that man needs? And then they got quiet in this at church. Are you willing to be what he needs as well? When he gets home from work and doing all the stuff that you would expect him to do, are you ready to be his peace? That he comes to a peaceful atmosphere. Well, I work just like him. Okay. That's fine. But what about roles? If his role is to lead and to protect and to cover and to guard, what is your role? To order him what to do? Absolutely not. No, you don't get it right to do that. That's not how that works. Absolutely not. And I've had to tell young women, especially the young women, that, I can remember my mom was like, oh, these young women, I don't know if they're going to ever get saved. And I was like, what are you talking about? I mean, get a husband. She was like, yeah, she said, because what they want these men to do, I know these men ain't trying to do it. You want Woodrow. You are an Aunt Esther. If you only want your man to just do what you want and say what you want, but never put you in check, never exerts his leadership, never says, no, hush, baby, this what we going to do. Because I'm gonna get in trouble right here. This might be the last day the coach call. Because some women, you talk too much. And he'd be like, yo, I need you to hush. Listen. Right? Right? And see, when that doesn't, when it doesn't happen your way, how do you feel? And so Dustin is absolutely right. There's a whole narrative that's being believed about black men that is not true. It's being sold to you by people who don't love black men, who don't like black men, who want to hold them in a subservient place and want you to think and you believe that they are disappearing when in fact they are not. They just want to create this narrative so that we can be the ones that are looked at, in a destructive, in a defeated way in the world as human beings. And we should not do that. 205-752-4800 or hit me up on the app. Let me know what you're thinking. Miss Joyce, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good to hear from you today. What you got to say to us this morning?
I want to say this morning.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm enjoying the program. I enjoy what the man said, and I'm enjoying what you said.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to say something, and I hope what I say, I don't offend nobody.
Okay.
But I'm going to say something that it will help the young people.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm 71 years old,
mm-hmm.
and I had 6 children.
My Lord.
I'm going to tell the truth about me.
That's right.
Because people know me, and they know I'm not with falsehood. I'm with the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I got 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. And all 6 of my children have a different father.
Mm-hmm.
And I had them outside of wedlock.
Mm-hmm.
I never got a child support check from none of my children's fathers. Mm-hmm. I had to be a maid, and work in the people's home,
mm-hmm.
wash, iron, cook, clean up, babies, do all that to take care of my children. And my parents helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And their fathers wasn't in their life.
Right.
And they didn't take care of them. They didn't pay child support.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a strong black woman.
Mm-hmm.
That I went out there and I walked to work, walked back. Sometimes I caught the bus. Sometimes I didn't have money to catch the bus.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you what my father told me.
What did he say?
He told me, say, you got these children.
Mm-hmm.
You're responsible for these children.
That's right.
You got to raise these children up and take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless what they daddy don't do, you step in and you play the role of a father and a mother. And you do what you have to do to take care of your children. I took care of my children. I raised them up.
Mm-hmm.
I got 3 kids in their 50s. I got 2 in their 40s, and my baby girl is in her 30s.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to tell you this. 1991, I met my husband.
Okay.
I told him the truth. I told him, I said, I have 6 children, all of them got a different dad.
Uh-huh.
And he said, but I love you, and I want to marry you. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it because people had told me that nobody want me because I had 6 children.
Right.
All of them had a different father. And so that's a stereotype people shouldn't put on their children.
Right. That's right. Right. And they shouldn't put that on their children. And shout out to your husband for taking care of them as well.
That's right. He made 6 children, one none of them here. And we'll be married 32 years next month.
Wow. Congratulations. See, there are good men. Thank you, Miss Joyce. I appreciate you telling your testimony. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Listen, I'm telling you, there are good men out there. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And y'all have to listen that she had 6 children by 6 different men. You see that? I think that's very important. I think that's very important to understand because here's the thing. And she was told that no man would want her because of that reality, right? But here's the deal. That's the reality of a lot of women. And when we really grow up on the culture call, we're going to have a good old conversation about situations like that, because a lot of women who have all these, here's what I need, here's what I need, here's what I need, here's what I need. This guy, Kevin Samuels, the late Kevin Samuels, he died, I think, a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago. But the reality is, he used to challenge women. Now, you want all this stuff, but then XYZ, the kind of man you want, does he get an opportunity to come with anything, with any requirements and with any request of you? Oh, yeah, he can. No, he cannot. See, and again, it's based upon this perpetuated myth of this lack of men, this perpetuated myth of this lack of value and lack of worth, that like men don't have a right to say no. You know, that some men, they don't want, just because a man may not don't choose you or choose a woman in terms of the women that are women that are available to him. You know, she comes up, you might like him. Just because he don't like you does not mean that he's gay or homosexual. He just don't like you. Right. He just don't like you. And I think that is important. That's important for us to acknowledge and to understand that you have to give men their particular priority to choose and decide who they want, what they want. You know, you're talking about, guess what? You're talking about, I want a man like this, and I want a man with intelligence. I want a man with this, and I want a man with that. You're doing all of that, but have you ever asked a man what he wanted? Have you ever been in conversations with men when they talk about what they want, or better yet, what they require? Have you ever been in a conversation like that? Because I have. I have been in those conversations. And, you know, what men were asking for weren't hard things, but the modern woman is not being taught to do that by her family or even by society, right? To be able to be a partner and understand a role, right? That's facts. One of the things I hate is that women who've had bad relationship with men begin to lie and not take ownership of their own part about why the relationship was dysfunctional. It grinds my gears. You know why? Because they know. If I had a drum roll, I would say, drum roll, please. They know most of society, most of social media, mostly everybody is going to side on behalf of the woman. They know it. They know it. And so they know they can spin anything. They know they can say it. You know, they know it. And if a man comes back at him, he's effeminate or he ain't no real man. So, and men know this. So they're being feared into silence of having to clap back and snap back and say, hey, and defend themselves, because they know all of media, all of society is going to side with the woman first. They know it. In court, they know. So many single fathers have come up to me and say, Bishop, I want to be a part of my child's life. But that woman then told the narrative and told half-truths and all these different kinds of things. So by the time I get into the courtroom trying to fight for joint custody, she's already told him all these things that are not true. You know, she said these things, and I've got to pull out all of these, you know, her mama coming, her friends gonna come, and all this kind of stuff, creating a narrative, and it's not true. And then gonna come back and say, well, how come you're not a part of your child's life? What? Or if that man says, yes, you don't even got to put me on child support. If we're not married, I'll pay for my child. That child look like me, got my head, got my eyes, got my everything. But I just want to be able to have my child on these couple of weeks, these couple of days in a week, without you calling every 15 minutes. And I'm not going to visit my child with you. Am I a threat? You'd be surprised the language and the pleas that I hear from black men who literally want to be with their children, but they do not want to deal with all of the extra that comes with not selecting the woman that they had the child with. Oh, Oh, my, Coach Call. You're quiet in this room today. He don't want to deal with the drama of not choosing the woman, but he wants to be there for his child. And now men, unfortunately, say, you know what? Before I don't even deal with that. I don't want to even deal with that. They'll send their parent or their mama over to get the child, and then they'll go to their mama's house before they have to deal with you. You coming out in the street, you coming out in the alley and all kind of stuff, fussing. You posting on social media talking about the man, and you very rarely see. Now, here's what I found out is that if a man ever gets to the place to where he posts something on social media about a dysfunctional relationship and about how hard it is to see his child, I have come to the place that once I've investigated it, that I believe him. Because it's not just the scorning, and I think we've talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It's not just the scorning of, he's not just dealing with the I'm not there for my child. Men suffer a lot of men who are there suffer a lot with the guilt of not being married. They, a lot of single fathers ain't just around here. Some are, just like some women are. Some women are. Some men got, children out here, slanging and doing all kinds of things. So, yeah, it goes both sides. Women are not always innocent, but we have to stop pushing this narrative that they are absent. They may not be married. And here's the case of the matter. The same thing happens in every community, in every ethnicity, in every race. Yes, in every. There are just as much absent white fathers. There's just as much absent Hispanic fathers. The whole idea then, the premonition that when white people and black and Hispanic people and Asian people have children out of wedlock, that they automatically get married. That's a farce. That is not the truth. No. But what do you hear in the media? What do you hear? What is the narrative? That black folks not doing it. And again, as Dustin said, a lot of times, you got to feed that narrative to a black woman. That's all. They know it. I'm telling you, look at social media. That's all you got to do. Look at Facebook. Look at all this. If they'll feed it to a black woman, and she going to run with it. She going to go off. Right? Because again, the whole idea is we cannot afford for them to create strong black families, strong black consistent families, strong black co-parenting. We cannot afford for them to do that. And the question that we must ask is, why does society not want us to have strong black families? And I know folks will say, well, no, that's just something you believe. No, look at the media. Look at it. That's not what there's some kind of dysfunction that always toggles around, that always hangs around, always lingers around. And we've got to begin to talk about that. Yeah, we got to begin to dispel that narrative. Absolutely. We have got to begin to dispel that narrative as soon as we possibly can, because we cannot have a generation believing that what was being put on the media is absolutely true. Yeah. We've got to begin to build strong black families, beginning with strong black men. Listen, this is the Culture Call with Spencer Smith. This is a hot one today. Yeah, and it's going to be all week long right here on the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 FM. Got more to come. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back. Culture Call with Spencer Smith right here on Praise 93.3 FM. Hasn't it been a wonderful morning already? Listen, we got a good week. Yes, a good week this week to talk about black fatherhood, men, mandates, and dispelling myths. That's what we're going to do. We got to confront the lie. We got to confront the lie, folks. And I'm duty bound to do that, because as a man, I want to make sure that we understand that a lot of the things that have been, shared with us and said about us as black men are not true, are absolutely not the truth. And we've got to begin to recognize that there is something that has literally caused us and failed us to see each other the way that we see each other, right? That I believe in our community there has to be, mutuality. That yes, there has to be a figure in a realm that stops looking at black women as if they're sex objects and that they're loud and boisterous and angry and mean, all that kind of stuff. But on the flip side of that, yeah. See, we'll champion that, but we got to also have this media portrayal of black men as lazy, as unintelligent, as drugged out, as hypersexualized, and misogynistic, and all those different kinds of things. Can't hate, don't love women, just want them for all these things, sexually and using them. Yeah, that's a media narrative as well. And we've got to begin to create healthy conversations around, those things that are really going on. Now, this is what I'm not saying, y'all. I am not saying that sometimes the reality is that, yeah, indeed, there is some levels of dysfunction that go on a whole lot within our community between black men and black women. I understand all of that. Black fathers and black mothers. I get all of that. But what I'm trying to tell you is our community is no different than other communities. Stop. Full stop. Stop right there now. Listen, that our communities are not any different than any other community. Okay, you got that? Period. Now, then, why does the media, why does the narrative always show the dysfunctional ones? Why does the media always elevate the negative to show it? And I'm talking about on mass media. Why does that? Why we have to begin to think about that. We have to begin to think about that. What is it about this, the black men in particular, as it relates to this week? Why do we have to show them in such a negative posture? Why do we have to, why does it have to be that way? And then as it is shared, because I was just looking at social media. Oh, I'm right. Y'all have absolutely no clue. The way that they show black men, they either show us unintelligent, hypersexualized, or effeminate, But how come, and creating divisions, creating this whole mindset of this is what black men are and have become, right? And that is not, I'm not here to argue any kind of full agency and being and value to anyone of their own particular persuasions and their perspectives as it relates to how they decide to live their lives. We're not dealing with that, especially from a sexual orientation kind of piece. That's not what I'm dealing with. What I'm saying is, do they show themselves that way? Since it is balanced, since we just discovered that the research, folks, and that's not the research of L. Spencer Smith, not the research of somebody I just heard. No, the documented research shows that there's no difference in challenge. There's no difference in intelligence. There's no difference in any of these other compartments and departments that we might say of other people. There is no difference, that black men are just on equal for everybody, and in some instances, especially in black fatherhood, that black men are more apparent. Then why don't we see that? And why is there an engine to share the narrative of black absentee fathers? What is that about? Stop now. Question that. Question that notion. Why is that the ploy? Why is that the plot? The greatest joy of my own personal life, other than the married woman that I married, is my children. My children are, listen, I enjoy being their father, being there, and, I tell people all the time when it was time for me to make a decision to come off the road, because I was traveling, preaching and speaking and doing tours and all kinds of things of that nature. When I was doing that, but when they started growing and becoming active, I cut all that back because I wanted to be there for my children. So, and I know The men that I know that I'm around are the same exact way. So where then does this narrative come of this black male, black father absenteeism, that we're not pulling our load? I think we need to start asking some questions of society. Yeah, instead of fighting black men. Yeah, instead of making them look in a certain way, in a certain shade. Understanding the realities, understanding the nuances, and understanding the differences. Once we know that, how come we are not showing that? How come the media is not pushing the positive? As if only the negative is the thing that we want to highlight. We've got to start asking those questions and calling some other folks into accountability. Why are you not showing the positive side of black malehood, black masculinity, black fatherhood? Why are you not showing that? Why? Because it's non-existent, or it doesn't serve a narrative and a story you're trying to create. So, yeah, this week we're going to talk about a lot of those things, And, black fathers are there. We are here, right? We're in role modeling. Black fathers are high in role modeling. Number one in role modeling. Yeah, serving for role models for our children, especially our sons. But that we don't see that, do we? Right? And emotional support and financial support. Black fathers are there in co-parenting and helping our children develop a strong sense of cultural identity. We are there. And this narrative of absenteeism and that we don't love and that we don't care and all we want to do to our women is have sex and play with their feelings, make babies and be absent. That narrative is false. Are there some black men that do that? Yes. But they're also all men of every race and ethnicity do the same thing. There's some low down folks. Period. Low down. Right? That's not a black thing. That's not just, allocated to our community. No, it's on everyone. When he ain't a good dude, he just ain't a good dude. Black, white, yellow, red, purple, whatever color you want to make him. When he's not a good person. But guess what? Flip side of that, when she ain't a good person, don't matter what color she is, she's just not a good person. Absolutely. And so we've got to begin to frame these narratives properly. We've got to begin to say to these narratives and say, hey, well, here's the deal. Either we're gonna partner together to build family. We're gonna partner together to build community. We're gonna partner together to make sure that whatever trope, whatever lie has been put on us, we live beyond that. We live beyond that. I tolerate absolutely no black bashing of black men or black women for that matter. I do not. Absolutely. Yeah. Preachers can't come to my church and do that. I don't have friends like that. You see, no. Because what you're not going to do is because at the end of the day, I'm a black man. So what you trying to say? Oh, not you. Well, then you didn't say that. You didn't say that in your message. You didn't say that in your, but they know that. No, we're not going to play that. They know that. No, bring the whole full body context to it. So no one will ever walk away with a narrative that is not true. They won't walk away with that. Right? They won't walk away with this whole idea that black men are not involved. They're absent. They're not committed. They're not involved with their children or their children's education or their children's upbringing. Right? That they don't support economically. They deadbeat dads. They don't support their children. They don't support their baby's mother. No, that's not true. Right? They're not involved in anything that goes on in the house. They work, come in and sit and eat and just cross their legs. Really? You have to start asking, where does that come from and why do we believe it? Because if we believe it and it becomes a foundational context of our community, right, then we've allowed others to define us. If you understand that they hate black resistance, there's a whole cultural, political, ideological, stream that hates the fact of black African American strength in this country. And dare I say, all around the world. But since we don't control the media narratives, since we don't control the political narrative, and oftentimes since we don't control the cultural narrative, they will begin to spill out and put and say these other kinds of things to us. Yeah, that's what they'll do. And guess what we'll do? Believe them and share them and be on platforms fussing about them while they're sitting back laughing at us like, yeah, these people they're not the brightest crayons in the box. They don't have it. See, we fuss about nonsensical things. We fuss about things that actually don't matter, because that's exactly what we want to do. We want them to feel like, hey, X, Y, Z, ABC. Well, our children this, our children that, our children. No. I told y'all before that bad definitions lead to wrong destinations. When you define a thing incorrectly, there's no way that you can look it up and go into the direction of that thing and think that you're going to arrive at the right or the correct place. No, we have got to begin to redefine the narratives. We've got to go and defend and redefine the narrative, and then defend the true narratives that, yes, our men are there. Our men are there. Now, we may not be there in terms of number in some spaces as much as women, as far as the church and other places, maybe school, college. And these are statistical numbers. These are not anything that I'm making up, to push a narrative. No, to push a story. No, I'm saying, but we are there. We are in our homes. We are marrying our women, and we are there taking care of our children, doing the best that we can do. And yes, again, we're going to work on the brothers that who ain't got it all together, who are not mature, right? Who are not mature enough at the time to take care of their responsibility. But guess what? We got to work on the women, too, because they weren't mature enough to handle that responsibility. It's just the fact of the matter is that they turned out to be the mama, right? And that doesn't mean that they were mature because they had a baby, but, because they decided to have the baby and the guy didn't, because, no, that doesn't mean maturity because you had a baby. Absolutely not. No, that we have to allow each other to grow up and stop this false, this false narrative that everybody needs to come fully loaded and fully packed when you meet them. Please, you didn't. So why should I? If I had challenges in my life, on my way, in my journey, and I'm growing every day, then guess what? If we give all of each other, if we give each other that kind of grace, oh, what a wonderful day it would be. And our families will be better. Our relationships will be better. And then collectively, we can come against some of these false narratives that the media have been saying. Yeah. We can place a demand on better television shows and the better ways that marketing and media shows, our families, black men, black women. We can place a demand, but we've got to have a conversation. Listen, this is the Culture Call with Elspeth Smith right here on Praise 93.3 FM. Got a little bit more to go. I need you to keep it here. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
Well, family, this is Elspeth Smith on the Culture Call right here on Praise 93.3, and it has been a terrific Tuesday. Wait a minute, is that the sun trying to peek out already? Listen, I'm believing that this Tuesday is going to be an amazing day. Listen, we've had a wonderful conversation today talking about black fatherhood, dealing with the myths, dealing with the men, and we're going to be dealing with the mandate all week long. You want to make sure that you keep it here. Yeah. My dad was an amazing man. My dad was a musician, a thinker, creative. It's not anything that he couldn't fix, he couldn't build. And one of the great things about my dad, he had his flaws, he had his failures. And, he had his own issues. He didn't know his father. His father dropped him off one day to his aunt, his aunt, and his aunt became my dad's mother. And my dad, with his other brothers, grew up to be my dad. Of course, met my mom and grew up to be my dad. And I think about all of the lessons and impartations. I think about all the struggles that he went through. I think about all of the challenges that he faced in his human life. And one of the things that he taught was that you got to make sure that whenever you deal with something, that you do your best. You be a man of integrity. And he began to share with us that he wasn't always a man of integrity. He wasn't always the man that he needed to be, but his great treasure was my mom and his 3 boys, my oldest brother, Ty, and my younger brothers, Kurt, and myself. And one of the things that I think about, even as we cruise into Father's Day, is the unrelenting power of his presence, that everything began to snap together when Dad was there. I begin to think about him challenging us to be who we are to be. What God has given us and how God had created us. He would always make sure that he would speak to that, especially as he got older. He would speak to you, only be what God has given you to be. Don't be anybody else different. And all of the life lessons. There are children today that need to understand the value of fatherhood. And fatherhood is showing up in a lot of iterations today. Some children are going to have their father there. Other children won't have their father there at all. But like my dad, they need a father that can speak them into their divine existence. Without that, there's always going to be something missing, a question not answered, an image not found. And so this week, I challenge all fathers to be there. And I challenge everyone else, let's respect and honor them because they are so deserving. We need our black fathers. Yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Listen, as my grandmama and my mama used to say at the end of every phone call, I love you a bushel, I love you a peck, and I love you a hug around the neck. Until tomorrow morning on Wednesday, we'll be right back here on Praise 93.3 with the Culture Call and L. Spencer Smith. Y'all have a blessed day. Peace.